All right, guys. Hello, everyone. Good evening. How are you doing today? All right. Welcome to Beyond Foundation series. And if you are just joining us, all right, this space is about having honest conversation, that goes beyond buzzwords. Conversation about what really happens um, when idea meets reality. So tonight's session is titled "From Idea to Scale." All right, where we are going to look into what really break startups. All right, as they grow. So because the truth is that most startups don't fail at at idea stage. All right, they struggle. All right, when they grow. So tonight we are going to talk about systems. We are going to talk about decisions. We are going to talk about foundations. All right, and the things that affect startup as they grow. So tonight I'm going to bring up the speaker, Paul Nosa-Obayuwana. He's AWS uh, cloud developer and solution architect. So he's based in Canada, and I can tell you for free that he's loaded. So tonight we're going to learn a lot of things from him. So we're going to talk about from idea to scale. So how startup get started and how to the point where they want to scale and the challenges they face. All right, excuse me. So tonight, join me as I bring up uh, our guest speaker to speak on this particular conversation.
Hello.
Hi, Paul Obayuwana.
Hi. How you doing, bro?
All right. Are you ready for us tonight?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm actually ready.
Okay. So, wow, how is Canada? And, I
Yeah,
know that you guys are currently winter over there. So, winter season over there.
yeah, Canada is very cold at the moment. It's very, very
Okay.
cold. Yeah. But it's good. It's cool.
So, we are currently live, and people, are here to hear from you. Okay,
Okay.
so tonight's topic is from idea to scale, where we
Okay.
have an honest conversation on what happens in the long run when after startup launches. All right, so please before we go deep into tonight's conversation, you can just introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay. My name is Paul Obayuwana. Currently, I'm based in Canada. I am a certified AWS solution architect. I specialize in cloud development, but most especially I specialize in serverless development, deploying app on AWS serverless. That's my specialty. And I love sharing what I know. I love writing, and I also I post on my LinkedIn. I love sharing ideas and writing stuff, educating people on things about cloud and about AWS. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wow, that's wonderful. I'm happy to host you as well, and people are ready to hear from you, to learn from even myself. All right.
Okay.
So um, you know, what do you think whenever you hear the phrase idea to scale? What comes to your mind? All right. As a person, all right. Whenever you hear the phrase from idea to scale, what does it mean to you? All right, from a DevOps perspective.
So from ideas to skill, right? So everything that we have today, every service, every app that we are using, it first starts with an idea, right? It actually starts with an idea, right? So from idea to skill, it actually means that the process it takes from having that idea to making it become something that doesn't just become an idea, but becomes something that is real, and it becomes something that people can actually use, right? It becomes something that becomes highly available to a lot of people. And not just that, it becomes something that as a lot of people join, it's something that begins to expand and begins to grow
Yeah,
to
yeah,
accommodate more and more users. So that is basically it.
Okay. So, uh, thank you for that, Paul. Thank you so much for that enlightenment you just gave me.
Yeah.
All right. So, this idea of move fast and break things, is this idea actually the reason why many startups, never recover? The idea of moving fast, and and in the long run breaking things. Do you think that's one of the reasons many startups never recover from issues like that when things got broken?
So I think number one, when you have an idea, right, it has to be something that you actually have studied the need for the market, and you know that this thing is a very very serious problem. Because there are sometimes that you might have an idea, but it's not really actually solving something serious, right? Like it's not like an urgent, like people are not really looking for an really not people are not really looking for that idea, right? They are not really looking for the solution. So there are sometimes that when there's an idea that is actually going to really solve a very very serious and a urgent problem, it tends to that is what we can call a very 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 good idea, right? A very good idea, because it's not just solving a problem, but it's solving a very serious and a very itchy problem that requires a solution. So there are different ideas. There are some ideas that are very very bad, some are very very good, some are just there, right? But another thing that makes some why some ideas does not mature, does not grow fully into the kind of startup that the leader envision is the infrastructure, the system that are put in place, the team. All these things are very, 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 very important factors. And the thing about DevOps is that when you have an idea and you want to scale it, at the beginning stage, you actually might not, you don't need a DevOps team, but you are going to actually use those things that DevOps use, right? You actually don't need like a DevOps team, but things like setting up the environment, having a test, ensuring that you have a test environment that is different from the production environment, ensuring that you're able to track the costs, ensuring that you're able to monitor what is being broken. All these things are important at the beginning stage. They might
Yeah,
be DevOps term, right? But even as a developer, there are things, there are something that needs to be set in place. You don't have to have a DevOps team for that, but there are something
yeah.
that every developer should set in place.
you know
So,
uh, what
okay.
I think the main what's it called now, point I want you to hit now is the question, like you know the idea of moving fast. Startup are, they love to move fast, especially startup. They want to move very
Yeah,
fast. So this
yeah.
idea of moving very fast and in the long run things got broken, is it a good idea? Is it sustainable idea? All right. Is it a sustainable idea to be moving fast? All right. And regardless of maybe or not considering maybe things will get broken or not, is that a good
I, I,
idea?
I think the idea of moving fast, I think is only a good idea when you are moving fast in terms of the futures that customers are looking at. If you are moving
Okay.
fast in that aspect, maybe like what customers are looking at, if you are moving fast in that aspect, that can be a good idea. But in terms of the structure, how you handle customer data, customer information, in terms of
Okay.
setting up in terms of planning for scalability, because you have to plan for scalability, you have to take your time to
Okay.
do all that, right? Because if you don't take your time to do all that, when things start scaling and things break, it's
Mm,
going to be catastrophic. So in terms of what customers are going to see, the user futures, what customers are going to see, you can move fast on that. But there are other part of the app, other part of the infrastructure system they are building that you have to take your time, like security. Security is
mm,
another aspect. You don't want to be in the future, something happen and you enter into a legal problem. So those
yeah.
things you actually need to take your time and really take it slow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah,
You know, there's this word, this term MVP, that's a
yeah,
minimum viable product, and
yeah,
it's very common among startups. especially people who are yet to launch the market. So I'm trying to build my MVP and all that. At this point of building MVP, all right, MVP making startups lazy about production ready. What does that mean? It means that at the point of building their MVP, do you think this MVP is one of the problems that startup encounter after they launch the MVP to production? And is it one of the problems that prevent them to not to scale or not to scale properly, or at the point of scaling the startup, things got broken, things got bad. All right. So is this MVP? Is it one of is it a bottleneck? All right. So, and how do you think startup can handle MVP properly so that whenever they need to scale, it can be easier for them to scale?
I think for the MVP, it's still like it still boils down to what they call it, to having something that can handle, like focusing on what can handle things that break. Because if you are rushing to have an MVP, and at the end of the day you deploy the MVP, you deploy it to production, it's ready, and people start using the app, and something break and it's not making you to sleep at night, I think you should it does not have to be perfect, right? It does not have to be perfect, but it has to be in such a way that you know that everything is put in such a place that is ready in case of anything that happens, right? It necessarily does not have to be perfect, but you have to put it in such a way that in case there's anything that happen in the future, because the issue is that what the main test of your MVP is when users start using it, right? When you're having a lot of user using it. So it's when you're having a lot of user using it that you can able to know that, okay, this is this. Is when you have a lot of user using it, you can be able to know that, okay, this thing that I'm using, I should have done it like this. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
main
yeah.
thing is that it might not have to be perfect, but at least there are some basic security that you need to handle, right? Basic security that you need to handle. There are some basic things that you need to ensure that are put in place that should not be rushed. There are some things that you can rush, but there are some certain things that you have to ensure that these things, no matter how long it takes, they should not be rushed. I don't know if you get what I'm
All right.
saying, because I think there's a difference between prototype and MVP. I think
Yeah, yeah.
there's a guy that wrote a book about 5 days, like building a prototype in 5 days, just to see how customers are going to take it. It's not like you're selling it to customer, it's just something that you just throw out to just test the market, right? But MVP is something that you're selling to customers. So if you're saying prototype, I think it's something that you could just rush because it's something you're
Mm,
going to dump. But MVP, I think it's still something that you should not just rush, because
mm,
especially if you are building something, you're going to handle customers' data. If you are building
mm.
something that is going to deal with finance, it's not something that, except maybe you're not going to handle customer data, so you're not going to deal with something with finance or payment. Okay, maybe, but if it's around those sensitive issue, you actually need to take your time to ensure that stuff like the security, customer data are properly handled before you launch out.
Okay, so because I actually get your point. There's
Yeah,
this startup that I know in Lagos that they launched out their MVP, and at the point of scaling it, they encounter a problem. Let's say maybe from the architecture part of things. All right,
yeah,
that's from, let's say, from the code base architecture part of things. I don't know, from the infrastructure. All right,
yeah,
and then they now notice that they could not scale the product. They
yeah.
almost they're like rebuilding the product. Like they have to
Hmm.
rebuild the product again
Yeah.
because
Wow.
I think the foundation is not solid. And in this case now, they are trying to, before this happened, they were trying to launch their MVP. So I think they didn't put a proper structure to it. So
Yeah.
nobody didn't think
Yeah.
about the future. They were just
Yeah.
only concerned about the MVP. So,
Yeah.
and after they build that MVP, they launched the MVP. At the point of scaling, they had
Yeah.
they had some sort of problems which they
Yeah.
had to now go back and rebuild.
Hmm.
So that's one thing I just think about this MVP of an issue. So well, for you, what are the primary things that you think somebody must put in place, a must to do, you know at the point of building MVP from code-based level to infrastructure level. That's the architecture to infrastructure level. All right. So
So I think one of the thing is number one is system architecture, right? System design is very, very, very important, right? Because beyond just like shipping code, you have to ensure that what you want to this, what the idea that you have, if you are actually using the right system, right? If you're actually using the right system. And why I said system design in the sense is that because system design it kind of there are some services that you are building that have to be separated from other services, right? So I think system design has to be in place. Number two, I think monitoring has to be in place. You have to have a solid, like you have to monitor when things break, when things happen, like you have to have that in place. Monitoring has to be in place. Then another thing you have to also have in place is that there should be an environment for testing and an environment for um what is it called? For production,
production, yeah,
right? That should also be in place. Testing environment should be in place. Production environment should also be in place, right? Then another thing is also backup, right? Having the backup for the having an automated backup in case something happened, that also should be in place. Then also security, how are you handling your security in terms of your, what is it called, the secret key, the EMV, how are you handling those
yeah,
security, those should also be handled. And also the what did they call it, the service that you are using, the tools that you are using, right? Those tools, you have to ask yourself, if you want to add features, if you want to add also features in the future, if you want to add this in the future, can we be able to use this tool? Will this tool help us? All right,
yeah,
is this something that in the future we have to change it? So if you are using a tool, you have to look at the entire scope of what you are building, like will this to be able to help us later on in the future, right? It does not have to be something fancy, right? It does not have to be the latest trend, right? So as far like it is something the database can be useful, it can scale in the future, right? So you have to look at something that not just for now but also in the future. And there are some certain tools that are good for startup that are scalable, right? Especially when you come to when you are looking at some database in cloud, right? Where you just have to pay for what you use, right? So if you are not using it, you are not paying, but as it grow, you begin to pay for it. So you have to look at tools and all that. And another thing is that you don't have to look at something that is fancy because sometimes early stage as startup, they're always wanting to go for something fancy, right? Something that is how am I going to put it? A technology that is trending, right? It's better you
yeah,
go for something that's a technology that the company is familiar with and they can ship faster with. That's something that is trending, but you ship slower with. I don't know if I make sense.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
what I want to say is that for everything you mentioned now, it looks quite big. All right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of startups that don't really have much, all right, more money or much money to to put some things in place. Let me just put it that way. So
Yeah.
in such case, what we advise such people that don't really have resources to to do all those some of the things, maybe to put in security, to put in monitoring and all that. So or to have most importantly to have a what's it called now, a test environment and a production environment. That's two servers, separate servers basically, and it costs some money, all right, in USD for that matter. So in that such situation, those startup founders who cannot afford to to deploy their services on two servers, all right. So what would you tell them to do? How can they maximize the little resources they have and to get a better result?
So in that kind of situation, right? Um, there are some certain tools and technology that can actually deliver more for less, right? Deliver more for less. So I think for founders like that is to actually find out those kind of tools, right, that actually deliver more for less, and also try to see if you can because one of the most expensive thing in startup is developers time, right? Developers time is
Mm,
very, very, very expensive, right?
yeah,
So if there's a way that you can cut that, there are certain tools that you don't have to, the developers don't have to like work on managing the infrastructures,
yeah,
right? When you're talking about tools like Lambda, um, all those tools, you don't have to really manage infrastructure. So you can look for tools that are managed already, right? Like where the cloud provider already managing those tools. The base you're just going to focus on your on the futures and
mm,
maybe just hire um um just ensure that you just have a team that their skill set covers a lot of areas. I don't know if that makes sense. Like a
yeah, yeah.
team whereby they are very, 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 very vast, and you should just have very few people on your team and use something that won't cost you. That's my advice. It's all about just checking the cost of a a tool that is not expensive to use, right?
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you for that. On this call, there are people joining this call right now.
Okay.
There are technical guys. There are technical. There are some. They are non-technical. All right. So I think the next question is now. Do non-technical founders underestimate how dangerous growth really is? Like non-technical founders. That's the people I'm referring to now. So do
Yeah.
they underestimate how dangerous growth really is, or you know they know the importance of growth, and the how will I put it now, uh, they know how important it is, and the consequence. Yeah, that's right what I'm looking for. The consequence of growth in terms of uh, you know infrastructure, and in terms of infrastructure of their products. So they underestimate it.
I think non-technical founder, even not technical founder actually wants their company to grow, but they actually don't know the danger about growth because nobody tells them about it, right? So I think it's up to the engineer to actually warn them, tell them that if you don't actually put the right things in place at the initial stage, the growth can be
Mm,
very, very dangerous. So it's up to
no,
the engineer to like kind of advise them that these are the things that you need to actually um put in place so that when you grow, you can actually handle it. So, but the issue is that sometimes there are some things that just happen no matter what you put in place, right? Some certain things just
yeah,
happen. The bills just go up no matter what you do. But
wow,
the issue is that you just have to be prepared and ensure that at least you can be able to manage, you can be able to take in what happened and bounce up from there, right? But at the end of the day, they have to know what is coming. They have to be ready and do what they
wow,
can do at the early stage.
wow, awesome, awesome. And
Mm.
uh, I know that you have quite a number of years of experience as a AWS solution architect, and
Yeah,
I believe that you have worked with different startup founders or different startup basically, and you have interacted with entrepreneurs,
yeah,
who have a digital product. All right.
yeah.
So based on your conversation with them thus far, uh, do you think what is the biggest lie you know those startup founders believed in terms of scaling their products?
So I think one of the biggest lies, like some startup, mm, they just want to like they just want to ship in faster, right?
Mm,
And they are not really so much focused on building the things on ground that will make it handle scaling later, right? So they are more of like we'll scale when we need to. So for them right now, they are just like more focused on shipping faster, right? They don't know that there are some certain things that are going to take time if you really want to handle scaling in the future and you need to do it now. So for them, it's more of like those things will do it later. But the truth is that those things is necessary you do them at the early stage. Like the way you structure your data is important at
Mm,
the early stage because
yeah.
when the thing starts scaling and you want to add some
Mm,
features to the data, you might need to rebuild some things, scatter some things, right? Your API
mm.
design is important because now the founder will be like, okay, we need to add this, we need to add this. So to avoid those kind of things, it's very, very important that they have to focus on the data design, the API design, those security and those stuff at the early stage so that when it actually scale, you can actually be able to handle the scaling in the future. So the biggest lie is more of like, let's ship fast, we'll scale when we need to. When actually scaling is something that you need to start planning from the early stage.
So you mean that they don't think about scaling at the early stage? They only think
I
about launching,
Yeah, they
and
just think about long.
they are like,
Yeah,
we are going to cross. When we go to the how they say it,
when we
when we
get to
go to the
that
bridge,
place,
we will
yeah,
cross it.
we'll cross it. Yeah, that's it. We'll cross it.
All right, but well, you have mentioned a lot of things earlier. How things that startup founders need to put in place, all right,
Yeah,
before before they launch their MVP. And but
yeah.
but in a case where the system fails, who will you blame? All right, is it the founder or the developers or the DevOps guys if something breaks? All right, if there's a system failure,
I,
who will you blame?
I think in that case, if there's a system failure, it's likely that the developer or the DevOps guys are likely to take much of the blame if they actually did not warn the founder ahead of time that these things are something like this is likely to happen and we need to spend
Okay.
time doing this. So in the case where they warn the founder ahead of time that we need to spend time doing this, we need this to do this, to handle
Mm,
scaling, to handle this in the future, they are likely to take less of the blame. But in the case where they do not warn the founder and they to just like, let's just go with the flow and also ship it faster, that means they also have the blame too, right? It's just all about like telling the founder like, okay, this is it, this is the things that are likely to happen in the future, right?
okay.
Warning them ahead of time and telling them that we need to put this in place.
All right. So what
Yeah,
you mean that the DevOps guys and the engineers should take responsibility, not
yeah,
just to build. So,
yeah,
as an expert, all right. So they should advise the startup founder,
yeah,
all right,
yeah,
based on their
yeah,
experience that this thing we are trying
yes,
to build,
yes,
there's a consequence for it in the future
yeah,
and all that. So that's ownership right there. I think
yeah,
every engineer and DevOps should take ownership whenever
of the
they are building
idea.
systems
Yeah,
because most times, even though this founder is a technical person, he may not
person.
look into the code. He may not know what's inside the code base. He may not
Yeah,
look into the cloud infrastructure. He don't have that time
yeah,
to do all those things. All right, but the responsibility now lies on the engineers and the DevOps guys
yeah,
to ensure that things are properly put in place. All right, so I think that's a good one there. So engineers and DevOps guys should be blamed when things goes wrong or when the system fails. All
yeah,
right. So now, we are currently in the age of AI.
yeah.
And so, do you think AI is actually helping startups to scale better, or is giving them a false, sense of confidence while hiding weak infrastructure?
So I think AI is more of like a um assistant, because I think one thing about AI is that AI is going to be very, 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 very useful if the engineer guys knows the in and out of what they are working with, right? It just come to like assist. Is AI is something that you need to actually babysit if you really
Mm,
want it to do, if you really want to get the value. You actually need to really babysit AI. And for you to actually babysit AI, it actually means that you actually know what you are doing. You know, you understand what it is you are building, you understand the tools, and that is where AI really comes very, very handy for you. But at the same time, there are a lot of issues with AI if you are not using it well. Number one, there's every likely chance that you can expose your security to AI, your secret keys, your
mm,
ENV. So there are certain things that you have to put in place to not like they call it guardrails in cloud, to ensure that
wow.
the AI,
Guardrails.
yeah, the AI does not actually have access to all this, because it can in the future it can actually affect you. So aside that, when you come, when you are building, like I said, there are certain things that are very, very important when you are building app. And when you are using AI for those kind of things, you have to be careful. Number one is the user data, right? The user data is very, very important when you are doing things that has to do with payment. So
Yeah.
when you are doing things that has to do with security, your key. So when you are using AI, you have to ensure that you are actually using it well. And like I said, AI, you have to babysit it if you really want to get the benefit from it. So AI is actually good. It actually makes things faster, but you have to know what you are
Can
doing,
you
especially
can you give us an example of you know babysitting AI, like a real world experience, or the way
like.
the word babysitting, like, can you give us an example of that, for so that for more context and clarity?
So in terms of babysitting AI, is more of like giving AI a structure to actually follow, right? So in the context of, for example, um you can say that okay, AI can help you like um push your code to GitHub, right? But you can put this kind of structure in such a way that before you push your code to GitHub, you can put in some kind of pipeline, right? Some kind of letting the AI actually go through some processes, right? In terms of how am I going to put it? First of all, testing it, right? Going through some process before you can actually push the code, right? Because sometimes when people are using, when you are using, when I mean by babysitting, when you are using AI, like sometimes you can just take in your PC and just write some prompts and just say that okay, AI do this for me, AI check this for me, AI check this for me. But you actually have no idea of what is actually doing, right? So for you to actually babysit it, it means that you actually have an understanding of what you are building, the system that you are doing. So you are actually like telling it what to do.
Mm,
You are being
yeah.
very, very specific. You are not just giving him a blank like this space. Your instructions are very, very specific, and that's why I think we have this I think is what did they call it? MCP, right? MCP agent, there's what they call context engineering and all those stuff. So all those stuff is more of like you are like making it, and you are ensuring that it is not doing anything on its own, that everything is keep doing, you have a step by step by step by step by step instruction that you are
Yeah.
ensuring that it is following, right? You are having a very, very detailed instruction, you have a very, very detailed system that is checking everything that is doing step by step, that if it does this thing, you tell it, and if it and you have like a template that is checking what it's doing, that if it does something that does not meet what you want it to do, you tell the AI to actually repeat it, right? So that's what I mean by babysitting, like checking everything that is doing step by step. ensuring that it's following how you want what you are building to be built. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, I get your point because I usually tell people that AI, artificial
Yeah,
intelligence, you actually need human intelligence, which means that
yeah,
AI cannot really, they are not that smart.
yeah,
They are not
yeah,
that smart. All right, so they need a context for them to give you a desirable result. All right,
yeah,
AI are not that smart. So which means that it is possible for AI to give you a wrong answer
yeah,
if
very possible.
the AI lacks clarity on what you want. So, so which means that AI actually needs, you know, human intelligence to be productive as
Yeah,
well. All right. So, uh, that's a good, insight about
yeah,
babysitting AI. Thank you so much for that. So, and he didn't ask startup rush to add, AI features. Are they prioritizing innovation, all right, over reliability? So, what does that mean? Like, the question is that when startup rush, all right, to add AI features, because now we're in age of AI,
yeah,
everybody's talking about AI. In fact, somebody made a post one time and said, if you want to get funding, add some AI features to your product.
yeah.
That because everybody's just talking about AI. In fact, some venture capital don't fund startup if that product is not an AI product. If it's just a
That's
regular
true.
product, they will not
That's
fund it.
true.
So they say that we'll add some, AI features to it so that you can get funding. And that's why I said that's what I'm asking. That startups that rush to add AI features, all right, to their products, are they prioritizing innovation over reliability and paying for it later?
So, I, I think what I will know is that when you're adding AI to your product, right? It depends on the pros and cons, right? Because
And cons, yeah.
number one is the AI that you're adding, does it actually make sense for the product, or you're just adding it because of funding, right? Because in the long run, you are looking at, okay, let's say the AI has some cost, like you are going to pay like, let's say $2 or $3 per interaction. And let's even say that aside from that, the AI future is always constantly breaking, right? Let's say that it's
Mm,
something that is always giving you issue and all that. So the thing is that the thing that you should ask yourself is that, is this AI actually necessary for the product? Okay, let's assume that it's not really necessary for the product, but you are just using it to get funding. Let's say
mm,
let's say, do you have like a fallback? Like, let's say, for example, the AI API is going down, right? Do you have like a non-AI version, right? For
mm.
the app, like, can the app, like, maybe at the end of the day decide to remove the AI? Is it something that can still continue? So I think there are a lot of factors that are involved. But in my own opinion, I will not put AI into a product that is not necessary just to get funding, right? Because of other things that might be involved in maintaining and putting the AI into that product. So if it actually is important, okay, that's okay. But if it's not important to the product, right? Or maybe you can just ensure that it is not a major, it is not like, how am I gonna put it? It is not like an important part of the business, right? But if it's an important
Mm.
part of the business, well, it's okay to add, but it should be ready for the the cost and everything that is associated with it.
Oh, okay. So in one word, you mean adding AI just to get funding or just to follow trend is unnecessary because if you
Yeah,
calculate
that's
your cost so that in
yeah,
the long run you'll be able to maintain, all right, or to
yeah,
sustain the AI feature.
yeah,
So
yeah,
not just about getting the funds
yeah,
and all that. So this means that we need to startup founders need to prioritize reliability over
yeah,
innovation. So it's not just about the innovation that everybody's using AI. Let me to add AI to my product. So
yeah,
the question will be that if you add AI to your product still remains reliable. All right,
yeah,
will your service uptime remain constant? Will it still be up
yeah,
all the time?
yeah,
It's not that you add AI to product and your product start failing
Yeah, that's
immediately
it.
why users
Yeah,
are using, and that will bring about a bad user experience. All right.
that's the
So
truth.
if
Yeah,
that encounter such situation, so you will not be able to explain to users that, oh, it's because of this AI I put on my products, or
yeah,
I couldn't sustain the AI. That's why the AI is
yeah.
breaking my product. There will be no time for
That's
that. Before you
there'll
know,
be no time.
customer has, they have already gone to somewhere else to use the other
That
product.
that's
you
true.
know, I
Yeah,
think so. Startup founders need to prioritize, reliability over, innovation. All
yeah.
right, that's wonderful. Um, that's wonderful. So I have another question. I think you have touched about this before, but I will need to ask this explicitly. All right. Is DevOps overrated for early stage startup? Like as an early stage founder or startup, do I need DevOps guys on my team?
I I think DevOps, yeah, to an extent, having DevOps at the early stage can be overrated, right? Because of I think DevOps, because of the a person that is a DevOps, it's somebody that is very, very experienced with a lot of stuff. But the issue is that DevOps practice is not overrated, right? DevOps
Yeah.
as a team is might be can be overrated at the early stage, but the practice of DevOps is not overrated. So it means that you should have developers that at least they should be able to have those basic
Skill in DevOps.
skills, those basic DevOps skills like
Yeah.
setting up the environment, setting up the CI/CD pipeline, setting up the test, having a separate test and production environment, one button
Mm.
deployment. So they should be able to have those skill sets, right? So, but having a DevOps team at the early stage is not necessary. It's not
Oh,
necessary. Yeah.
what if the startup founder, you have a lot of resources to hire them? Is he okay, or is it just this unnecessary for both, situation where there's resources to hire and there's no resources to hire?
I think even though he has a lot of resources to hire, right, you still have to because it's still the early stage. You really don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. So it's better you try as much as possible to minimize what you are spending at the early stage and just be
Mm.
increasing gradually. Maybe after a month, as you are getting more user, you can now say, okay, now we need a DevOps team. But at the very early stage, you should like go bit by bit. So at the early stage, the DevOps team is overrated to me. It's maybe after a while you can add it, depending on how your service is growing and how it's going.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. So
Yeah.
we are coming to the close of this section, and as I said, people joining this live session are not just some of them are not even founders. Some of them are just people who love tech. Some of them are just people who want to dive into tech.
Yeah.
When I mean tech, maybe software engineering, cloud engineering, and all that. So let's assume that some of them. So is there somebody here that that's interested in becoming a AWS solution architect? What advice would you tell that person? All right. What are the things you advise the person to do?
So currently, I would say like you should not be distracted by the AI bubble because AI is everywhere, and some people are like AI is going to take over tech or something like that. So I would say don't be distracted by him. That learning the foundation, the basic are very important, right? So someone that knows the basic or the foundation is still far ahead of someone that doesn't know the basic and is just relying on AI. So I'll say don't be distracted by the AI trend, right? Focus on mastering the foundation, right? And don't be overwhelmed by the so much technology. Just pick one and just have a focus on it, right? If it's front end, focus. If it's cloud, just pick one technology and just direct your focus and just learn it deeply, right? Rather than just go everywhere and just be learning everything, right? Just focus on one, dive deep, master the foundation, and don't let the AI stuff discourage you, right? Yeah. I'm not hearing you, bro. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, sorry. All right. So I think the final question I have here is that what would be your advice for a techie founder and non-techie founder? Like, what does that mean? Like your advice for them that what are the things they must know, you know, about their infrastructure? Because most of them they are busy looking for funds, they are busy, looking for customers. So, and of course, it's very important to get people that will use your product. It's not about building products. So, but what are the little things about infrastructure that you think they should know, all right, at least so that they can take a better decision going forward, at least from the early stage? What are the little things that you think as a techie founder or non-techie founder should know about their infrastructure?
So I think as a techie founder, they should ask about the tools, the service that their team are using, right? And ask, okay,
Okay.
in the future when we are growing with these tools, with this tech that you are using, is it going to be suitable for us when in the future we want to like add more features to our app? Can these tools that you are using handle it, right? You can also ask like, can the tools that we are using, when when we begin to grow, can it actually handle scalability? Are you building for scalability? Are you putting proper things in place that can handle scalability? You can also ask about security.
Mm.
How are you handling the security of the app? Is it something that is well secured? Yeah, yeah, those are the questions I would say that you
What
can
about
ask.
for non-techie founders? How would they go about that? Because those things might be look like sound like jargon, or jargons to them. So, what would you advise non-techie to do in that situation?
So I think non-techie founders, they just need to have the assurance, right? They just need to be have the assurance. The developer might not need to explain everything to them, but they should just be able to hear from the developer that, okay, like the service and their tools they are using, like in the future, if they are adding more things to the app, it can actually handle it. They also need to be assured that their developers are actually setting everything in place for it to actually scale, right?
Oh,
They
okay,
also need to
okay.
be assured that how am I going to put it, that the everything is actually well secured. So I guess with the founder, they also need to be assured that it's not just about shipping fast, but
Yeah.
also that there are certain things that need to be in place, and probably that could allow the founder, non-technical founder, to actually give the developers more time to actually put certain things in place.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So for the non-techie founders, they just need an assurance from the
Yeah.
developer, the developers, and
Yeah.
others. So what about the aspect of credentials, the all these login credentials, registration credentials? Who should handle them?
So for the login credentials, that's is it like the secret keys?
You get the secret keys from inside the account,
Yeah.
right? So I'm
Yeah.
talking about the accounts credentials itself.
So the account credentials, it actually depends. If it's something that is not going to be hard for the non-techie founder to handle, because some founders will want to have access to that, right? They actually want to have access to that. So if it's something that it wants to have, it should actually be like put through on how to, right? Where there are some founder that they don't want to just have access to it, which is also fine. In that case, the developers will just be the one that has access to it.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for for this beautiful section. Thank you for
Yeah,
your time.
thank you for having me.
We would love to see you again. We'd love to hear from you again. And
Yeah,
I believe people are joining this stream, live
I,
stream, and
I
I want to throw out questions if they have. I want to throw this opportunity out for them to ask questions. If anybody has questions, you can drop in the comment section. So if there are any questions, okay. I think there are no all right questions. So you know, so to everyone who joined us live, all right, thank you for your time, and if this section gave you a new perspective, please share it, all right, because this video is going to I will repost this video on YouTube and on this Instagram page, so you can come back to watch it. All right. So this is just the beginning. All right. There'll be more conversations. More perspective, and also more lessons ahead. So all right. So thank you for joining, everyone. So we'll be ending the session now. Thank you so much. Thanks to our guest Paul
thank,
Obayuwana.
thank
All
you for
right.
having
All the
me.
way from Canada. Thank you so much for
Thank you
joining.
so much.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you much for having me.